Through the darkness of future past, the magician longs to see one chance out between two worlds. Fire, pod with me. Hey guys, welcome to the next episode of Fire Pod with Me, our Twin Peaks podcast, going over the return of Twin Peaks. Today, Steven and I will be discussing part 10. Steven, what you think?
I liked it. I like the episode overall. I mean, there's a lot to discuss. A pretty brutal episode overall.
Yeah. One thing I want to address, well, a couple things.
Yeah.
From our last episode of the podcast. I listened to it and I can't believe that I said I called Doc Hayward Doc Hastings, which I think is like completely hilarious. That not only did I mesh him and Hastings' character together, but I also just like made a United States representative.
Isn't he like from like our district or like somewhere close to us?
I feel like he is, because I feel like I hear about him a lot.
Yeah, Doc Hastings. It's a very good name though.
It's a pretty decent name, yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, I feel like there were a couple things that like we well, not to jump too far ahead, but the character Johnny.
Oh yeah, it was Johnny, and I didn't even pick up on that.
Yeah, like you connected the dots, and then we were like, well, maybe, maybe not.
It was blatantly obvious that it was him.
Yeah, I feel like there were a couple things like that. But I mean, I think we did an okay job overall.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, go easy on us. We're trying to explore this world, and we're doing this to learn more, and we're hopefully having you listen and learn with us, or even teach us, because that's what we're here for,
Exactly. Man, so to start off the episode, was the first scene that we saw the trailer park?
Yep.
So, man,
Richard Horne is now a trailer park boy.
Man, poor girl. She was so sweet.
Miriam.
Man, you think she has the upper hand for a second. Like she's on top of it.
Yeah.
Only in the world of David Lynch would somebody write a letter to
the sheriff
instead of just calling 911.
Yeah.
So yeah, we see Richard. Well, we don't actually see it, but he breaks into Miriam's trailer and kills her because she witnessed good old Richard hit that kid. From what episode was that? Episode 6 or?
Yeah, it was either 6 or I think it was 6.
Yeah. Man, oh man. So yeah, we see him kill her, and then we see him call someone and say, "Hey, make sure."
He calls him Chad.
Oh, he does?
Calls him Chad
okay.
then and there, yep.
I guess I just missed that, because, yeah, like, once I saw Chad go up to the desk later, I was like, oh, okay, now I understand what's going on, but...
If we needed any more suspicion that Chad was a fuckboy, we got confirmation.
Well, I don't know if you remember, but when we were first introduced to Richard, he's the one that, like, when Richard's smoking, and he says, the owner comes up and is like, hey, you can't smoke in here. Chad's the one that comes up to him, and Richard gives him some money.
Oh, shit.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even... Out of the uniform, I was like, I didn't even...
I know. Yeah, no. I think the second time I watched the episode, I was like, oh, that's bitch-ass Chad. So...
Motherfucker.
Yeah, that was a quite the way to start the episode off. And then we're shown the other trailer park, right?
Mm-hmm.
With
Yep.
We see Steven beating up Becky, and he is like very clearly like wasted, high out of his mind, I think.
Mm-hmm.
We never saw, like, even in the original series, and maybe it's just because it's Showtime and they can get away with more, but like when Leo would beat up Shelly, yeah, it was never that brutal. Like,
no,
that was a very tough scene to watch for me, at least.
And I was thinking that exact same thing. It was. I mean, obviously, it's supposed to parallel Leo and Shelley.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was just it's a lot more dark. It could also be added that I watched Get Out recently, and he plays Jeremy, who's also he plays like he looks exactly the same as he does in the role of Steven to me.
Apparently, that guy's like a very very eccentric actor, and like
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what Jordan Peele was saying about him, but he was like he's just as weird in real life, but
Spooky.
yeah. So yeah, that's quite the way to start off the episode, man. Like both of those scenes back to back,
Tough stuff.
and then luckily we see Dougie at his doctor appointment finally,
Oh man, yeah.
and man, that was Janie E got the eye. The funniest thing to me is like they're doing a physical on Dougie, kind of. The doctor is just kind of checking him out, and they're like, "Man, you lost some weight," and it's so funny to me that like she's married to this guy, but at the same time it's obviously a whole new person. I guess maybe a part of her recognizes that. So yeah, like he's just standing there shirtless in good shape, and she's just like just fawning over him, and I don't know, that's a funny concept to me. And also, like, how's your husband lose like 15 pounds or more? Or, like, how much?
Like, yeah, at least like 20 pounds that he had to have lost. Like, if you look at a picture of like actual Dougie, he wasn't like, he was a big boy.
Yeah. And that was in the span of like what, 4 days?
3 days.
Yeah, 3 days.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's pretty funny to me. But I guess that kind of like that's their reasoning why she's not questioning it. Is she's just like swept up in it. Like, oh man, Dougie looking good.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was pretty good to me. And then oh man, gets even better with them in this episode. But then we had I refer to these guys as the Casino Boys.
The Mitchum brothers.
The Mitchum brothers. Yeah, so we see them.
Dude, let me just say, their home is like the aesthetic that I want. Like I'm like, oh, where's their interior designer? Because I want them to come and fix my place up real quick.
It's beautiful.
Looking straight out of like a modernized 60s.
Yeah.
And I love that aesthetic.
No, it's really cool. Complete with the what do we call those girls?
All I know is Candy. That was the only
Candy.
I think that was the only name they dropped.
Yeah, there's a weird we'll see later in the episode, but there's a weird disconnect, or maybe it's intentional. Maybe she's because the scene that we were introduced, well, not introduced, but reintroduced to the Casino Boys and Candy, because it's been a minute since we've seen them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she's like looking. She's trying to swat a fly out of the air, and just ends up just
whacking him in the face with the remote.
Yeah. But I saw on Twitter that like somebody called like the woman that plays that character. Somebody referred to Candy as a bimbo. The actress was like, "No, she's not a bimbo." So that like made me think like, did she do that? Like, is this just an act? Like, is she not actually disconnected from reality? Like, and her response time is like working off of a 10-second delay. Like, very Lynchian. But yeah, we see the Casino Boys, the Mitchum brothers, in their nice penthouse suite or whatever at the casino, and they're watching TV and they see our boy Ike the Spike.
Hell yeah. They got Ike.
They got Ike. And
remind me to get rid of that hit on Ike.
Yeah.
Save us some money.
That's what I was going to ask you. So, that's an interesting development in itself that they had it out for Ike.
Yeah.
Any like grand scheme, like when we found that out, was there anything that like connected for you?
No, not really.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of why they would have been taking him out.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure we'll know more, but I mean, it kind of goes back to what we were saying that like all of these little like loose ends with all these people that have it out for Dougie, they're all gonna get intertwined. But I mean,
Yeah,
clearly they already are without his doing, maybe. Like,
exactly.
so yeah, that was interesting. And then we got the most infamous scene of the series so far.
All right. Well, before we talk about that, the Mitchum brothers
Uh-huh.
on the TV, they after, of course, Ike the Spike got arrested. They see the news report about Dougie.
Oh yeah, how
And
did I miss that? Yeah, go ahead.
Obviously, they know about Dougie from the casino, and Dougie the Cobra, I should say, Dougie the Cobra Jones, because he went at Ike the Spike like a cobra. But one of the quotes I had written down was, "Turns out I'm Mr. Jones is Mr. Jones."
Yeah.
So obviously they've already got it out for Dougie, and they have more reason to go after him, maybe, I guess, or I'm not entirely sure what they were thinking at that moment about Dougie, other than he ripped the casino off in their brain.
Right, because I mean, it sounds like, I mean, according to Janie E, that I mean, Dougie was no stranger to the casino by any means, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was interesting to me too. I guess I was just so enthralled by the following scene that I skipped over it. I mean, we don't need to get there's no real purpose to the scene besides just showing that Janie E is like, I don't
Very
know,
attracted to Dougie.
really into a very absent-minded Dougie.
I love that she's like, "Do you find me attractive?" And he's just munching on some cake.
And like, I thought in that scene when he just kind of doesn't respond to her, he just kind of goes back to eating his cake.
That she would have been like offended, maybe.
Yeah, but she's just so head over heels with her husband that she doesn't care.
I mean, not to get too into it, but could Dougie have consented? Because I mean, like, he's not really all there.
That's a good point. I mean, he was flapping his wings, you know.
He sure was.
But that's a good point. I'm glad we didn't see the moments leading up to it. Was it? It was very strange for a minute once, like towards the end of that scene. It got a little bit too weird for my taste, I think.
Poor Sonny Jim. I felt the same way as Sonny Jim.
Yeah, we were all Sonny Jim in that scene. Oh man, yeah. No real purpose, I guess, other just to show that how Janie E is feeling about Dougie at this point.
Yeah.
Because I do think, on a serious note, I do think there's going to be some tough moments ahead if and when Dougie rediscovers himself as Coop. This man that she's known as her husband for God knows how long, is going to be gone. I mean, he already is gone. He's in limbo. I mean,
his head turned into a marble.
Yeah, that's true. There's not really anything left of him. Good old Marblehead Jones. Oh, so then we see our boy Jacoby. We're welcome back to Jacoby. Given his Jacoby's kind of like a more sane Alex Jones.
That's almost exactly what I had written down.
Yeah.
One thing though that I wanted to add about that sex scene.
Yeah.
Is that I don't know if it was just me, but Kyle MacLachlan looked way younger afterwards. Like when he was laying in bed.
Yeah.
He looked way younger to me. I don't know if it was just the lighting or what it was, but he looked way younger.
Probably, but I like to think he's just took some years off of him.
Yeah.
The stress of trying to figure out who he is, how he came through an electrical socket. You just let it all go. What was it? What was the message you sent me last night? Janie E give 2 rides.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said.
Oh man, I wish he would have said that. That would have been great. But yeah, we see Jacoby giving his spiel about what is it, digging through the shit or
Yeah. Buy yourself a shovel. Dig yourself out of the shit.
oh man, yeah, I love that he's just like a what do they call those people? Like a snake oil salesman? Is that it?
Yeah, I think that's
Is that the saying? Something
yeah,
like
that's the
that.
saying.
But I love that Nadine is just like his most loyal listener.
He's so beautiful.
Yeah, she like loves him, right? She's like in love
Yeah.
with Jacoby, which that you know what, in retrospect, that's a very like that's a matchup that definitely makes sense.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, we
Um,
see that
Also
she
interesting to note that she's got her own silent
yeah,
drape runner store.
what is it called? Run silent, run drapes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I only in the world of Twin Peaks would that have mapped out to a whole career for her. But it's cool. I mean, my biggest gripe with the series so far is where is Big Ed?
I want my big Ed, dude.
Dude, I love him so much. I mean, is he in the shop with Nadine? There's no way. There's no way.
I hope better for Big Ed.
Yeah, my heart would be broken if he was still with Nadine. Um, so yeah, we got a nice another little monologue from Jacoby about see through the bullshit or whatever he's selling, and then we see our boy Dickhead Chad, and
Yeah.
yeah, we see. I really liked that because all the scenes with Lucy so far have been very her and Andy being kind of ditzy,
Uh-huh.
But I liked that we finally got because in the original series she's not just a one-sided character. I think she's more multi-dimensional than that.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think
She
go ahead.
because like in the original, like she was always listening,
Right.
Like she would take notes on things, like even if she wasn't supposed to or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
She was always taking notes. Like I believe it's in the first episode. She takes notes on Mike and Bobby having a conversation outside of the interrogation room.
Right. Yeah, she's kind of like the eyes and ears of the place when no one else is around.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I really like that we saw that again because we saw our boy Chad being as like suspicious as he possibly could be. I just want to go outside. Isn't it a nice day? Like, just
There's some milk, Mom. I'm gonna go get it. But he'll bring it inside. Yeah, but I mean, like, it's a good day. I'm gonna go out there.
yeah. And even the mailman, like after he takes it, and he's like going through trying to find the Miriam letter. He's
Yeah.
like the mailman's like, "Fuck are you doing? Like, you're being suspicious as hell right now, dog." So, people, yeah, they know Chad's up to no good. And I mean, if the signs weren't clear enough to, I think maybe the heat will be on next episode with maybe Truman,
Yeah.
and like Chad, what are you up to? Because obviously Truman wasn't here for him eating in the conference room.
Yeah. So I want to know who the hell is in charge of hiring at this sheriff's department, because, I mean, nothing against Bobby, but he definitely murdered someone. Like,
that is true.
and Chad is just like a shithead. I don't know how he would have passed like any tests.
Right.
Like, it doesn't make sense to me. But
Maybe it's just like the whole aspect that it's like a small town, small community. They'll take what they can get.
yeah,
That's a good point. Yeah, that's such a I always talk about this with Fire Walk with Me just being such a like all of Twin Peaks without like the quirky kind of, awkward humor to a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when Bobby just fucking murders that guy, unreal.
yeah, man.
So yeah, I could because I saw somebody posing the question like if Bobby is a crooked cop along with Chad, but I don't really see that. Do you?
No, I feel like he's too involved. Like I feel like he enjoys what he's doing. He's not like being an asshole like Chad is. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. And I always go back to that great scene with him and Briggs from season 2 when Briggs is like telling him about the future that he saw for him, and Bobby starts like crying.
Yeah.
Very beautifully written scene, but yeah, like I feel like Briggs is too prophetic at this point to be wrong about Bobby, you know?
Exactly.
So, man, then we get another very brutal scene with Richard.
Oh, yeah, but right before that happens, though, we get a very quick scene with my favorite character, Jerry Horne.
Oh, that's right. I knew Jerry was in the episode. I forgot where his scene was at, though.
He's in the woods. He looks at his phone, and his phone isn't working or whatever, and he just yells, "You can't fool me. I've been here before."
Yeah, what do you think that was about? Just him being high still?
I'm not sure, because like the more and more we see of it, and it's just like such brief little moments. I feel like he might be onto something, but it's just it's bizarre to me that it would be Jerry that's onto something.
I know. I still stand by my theory that wherever Truman and Bobby and Hawk are gonna go from Briggs's note, I think Jerry is somehow gonna stumble upon it, or there's a reason he's out in the woods.
Yeah.
At this point, I mean, I really doubt that there would be. I mean, how many episodes has he been lost? Like,
the majority of them, he's been out there.
Right. Like, we only see him with Ben in that, like, the first scene, right? And that's really it.
I hope wherever he's headed, there's like just like a buried in the ground is like a thing of fresh baguettes.
Whoa. What if it's a trap? What if it's like his foot?
His foot like planted the baguettes, or the baguettes are like not baguettes.
The baguettes are not baguettes.
It's too spooky, man. I'd feel too bad for him.
Yeah, poor Jerry. Yeah, because I feel like his high had to have like worn off by now, right? Like,
yeah.
Unless he's like eating shrooms out there or something.
Yeah,
picking them up.
Could, very well could be.
So yeah, after that we see our boy Richard going to his grandmother's house.
Mm-hmm.
And we can talk about the connection there after we explain the scene. But yeah, he basically we see Johnny, who we know from the original series to be Audrey's little brother, and all grown up. And that's who we saw in the previous scene. Or was that that we were talking about that last episode, right?
Yep. Yeah, and I thought
where we see Johnny running and hitting his head.
Yeah, and for whatever reason, I assumed that the lady yelling was Sheriff Truman's wife, but it's obviously it's Ben Horne's, who I'm assuming it's his ex-wife at
Correct,
this point.
yeah.
But
yeah, that's what I got from it too. But I can't fault you though, because I got the same impression just because we saw Truman's wife being very hysterical.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I just connected because I think was that the same scene? Yeah. Or was that the same episode?
I think.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I made this. I assumed the same thing. So yeah, we see Richard basically force his way into their home, and he starts choking his grandma, saying like he needs money because he's leaving town, right? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said, "You always wanted me to leave town." Yeah.
Yeah. And she like refuses, and then like he hits her, and like I think he goes into their safe. Meanwhile, the title of this episode, we see.
Hello, Johnny. How are you today?
Super unsettling. But yeah, we see Johnny kind of like tied up, not tied up like in a bad way. Like he's just kind of restricted, sitting down, wearing like protective gear just so he won't get hurt again, won't run and hit his head or injure himself. And he's like, oh man, it was so hard to watch, like him trying to help his mom but just not being able to. So yeah, man, I really hope we're getting set up for a good old a whacking of Richard. Richard needs to go.
Yeah, dude. The way I see it is kind of like in Return of the Jedi when Vader just sort of like walks over to the Emperor, just picks him up and tosses him. I want that to happen.
Yeah, Richard and Chad, man, take them out.
They suck. Yeah.
Now we're cutting back to Vegas. Or no, yeah, we're back in Vegas, and we see kind of that shady businessman that has been working with Scale Coop.
Yeah, Mr. Todd is his name.
Mr. Todd. And he is waiting for someone comes in and tells him that they got Ike. And then they see Anthony, who is Tom Sizemore. He's waiting. He has a meeting with Mr. Todd. And basically, Mr. Todd tells him that he needs to pin the fraud that Anthony is currently doing on Dougie, and like he has to convince the casino boys that Dougie.
It was Dougie that did it.
Yeah, because that's who he's been screwing over, Anthony. And then basically, if he fails to do that, he has to kill Dougie himself. Right? Was that the?
Yeah. Yep. That was like the exact wording.
So I mean, we'll jump right back into that. So that's where that scene leaves off, and we see our boy Albert on a date with the mortician, which was a very nice scene. Gordon and Tammy were enjoying seeing that in that restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, not a whole lot to say about that scene, but...
Yeah, no, it was very brief, but it was a nice little moment.
I was going to say, I felt good for Albert.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I think it's in season 1 where obviously Harry and Albert had their differences in the original series, but Harry goes up to Albert, and I think he says he wants to punch him again, and then Albert gives this very nice little monologue about being a pacifist and that he chooses love, and that's
he hugs him, right?
Yeah, he hugs him. So yeah, Albert's he's a tough cookie, but apparently he loves hard. So that was nice to see. So after that, we jump back to the casino boys, and I love this scene. There's a lot of good quotes, but they basically see Anthony walk into the main floor of the casino, and they're watching from like the surveillance room or their room. They see him on the TV, and they call him two things. They call him that cracked me up: that insurance fuck, and that rat fuck. That was so good. But yeah, basically they see him and they're like, oh, that rat fuck. Like, I wouldn't trust him farther than I could throw him. Yeah. So they don't fuck with Anthony for whatever reason.
I mean, I wouldn't either.
Yeah, very sketchy. So then, yeah, we see Candy is told to go and get him. And she, again, Candy is just like working on like a 10, 20 second delay. She's just like, she goes to get him and is like whispering in Anthony's ear for felt like a good minute. Like all she needed.
They're just watching in silence.
Yeah, and then they're like, is she telling him her whole life story?
Her fucking story?
Yeah.
4 fucking hours?
Yeah. Like all she had to do was, sir, would you come with me? So yeah, they take Anthony up to their little control room, and he's trying to convince them that it's been Dougie. And I wasn't sure initially how they were receiving this.
Yeah, me either. It almost seemed like they didn't believe him.
Right.
But obviously, later we find out that they totally believe him.
Yeah.
But
I think they're still a little skeptical because when he he tells them and they're just like, okay,
yeah,
bye, and he's like, Dougie Jones is your enemy, yells at
you have an enemy.
Yeah.
In Mr. Jones.
As he's walking out the door, basically saying, please believe me.
Yeah.
Doing a real bad job of lying. So I think, I think of course, just because Dougie robbed them of all that money as they see it, they're not going to take any chances. So yeah, later that night they're like drinking in their room and basically say like set up a meeting with Mr. Jones tomorrow. Is that right?
I think that's what they said. Yeah, I had written down, now I know how Brando felt.
Yeah, of course referring to Wally Brando.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any theories going around the net right now?
Definitely.
Yeah, I think you're right. Oh man, and then we see a pretty crazy scene where Gordon is. This is the rest of this episode's pretty damn significant, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But we see Gordon's back in his like hotel room, and where are they at right now? They're still in
one of the Dakotas.
Yeah, is it South Dakota? Is that where they're at?
I believe so.
Yeah, they're still in South Dakota. Just didn't want to be too confusing. So yeah, because all that was taking place in Vegas, and now we're jumping back to South Dakota with Gordon and co. But yeah, he's in his hotel room, and then he hears a knock on the door and opens up, and it's Albert. But he doesn't see Albert initially. He sees a scene. It's like a transparent, like he sees a vision basically of Laura from Fire Walk with Me, right?
Yeah.
Of her yelling.
Yeah.
Like yeah,
and
like
then
yelling.
You hear the echo of Laura's mom saying Laura's name.
Yeah. And yeah, there's definitely it definitely connects with how the episode ends.
Yes.
So we'll go ahead.
And Gordon was drawing something interesting before he answered that door.
A deer.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was a deer that he was drawing or if it looked like almost an alligator with like deer antlers.
Yeah.
And like a hand petting it.
I mean, that's how David Lynch sees deer. That's how they look in his mind.
Great.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there's something there, but I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
What exactly it is. And so yeah. Oh wait. Let's not forget why Albert's there. So Albert's there to tell Gordon that Diane has been communicating with Coop, which we talked about last episode.
Yeah.
So
apparently, you know, she's responding back to him with like information. So
yeah,
obviously, she played us, Cheeb. She made
did.
us, dude. We believed in Diane, and now,
you know, not to like try and like backtrack at all, but I did think the scene with her like crying and hugging Gordon, that seemed a little bit too over the top for me, and I wasn't sure if that was just Laura Dern's performance. But now it makes sense if she was kind of selling it to Gordon, because even that's what he says to Albert. He's like, I had my suspicions when she hugged me, or like I felt that something was wrong. So that totally makes sense. But no, she did. I mean, she seemed very blind to all of this. We don't know how much she's been talking with Scale. Coop. Scale Coop. Love that name. Because I mean, even in the interrogation scene or where she sees him, I mean, maybe she was just selling that just in case there were cameras.
Could be, yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, because she seemed very frightened by the sight of Scale Coop. But
yeah,
I don't think tell me what you think about this, but I don't know if she's necessarily working with like malicious intent. I mean, maybe, but I think it's kind of just this Diane and Coop have this connection, and she'd do anything to help Coop.
Well, I've heard speculation that may be Doppel Diane.
What?
Which would be, I feel like that's a little bit too out there. But
that would be a crazy twist.
Yeah.
Interesting. Man, I mean, how would we know? We've never seen her before.
Yeah.
Whoa. I mean, she is very, she is very angry all the time.
Yes, that's very true.
Man, that would be crazy. And so, basically they say, like, let's keep her close. Let's keep an eye on her. So they're not going to act confront her. They're being very suspicious of her now. They're gonna be watching her every move. So that'll be interesting to see. But Tammy walks in and gives Gordon a picture of Scale Coop, photographed of. He was up in the penthouse where the glass box was.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't in the box, correct? He was just like,
no,
he was there.
He was outside of it talking to what looked like an old man.
Yeah. Do you think whoever owns like the secret billionaire or whatever that was in charge of that penthouse, do you think that's a character that we are already aware of in the Twin Peaks universe, or do you think that's just someone separate?
It could be Scale Coop.
Oh, that's right, because he is like fucking Scarface.
With the where was that house at?
Somewhere like in South America or somewhere, right?
Yeah, we get that beautiful picture of him. It looks like he's dropping a new rap album or something with that photo.
A new fire like yacht rock album.
Yeah.
No, that's a very good point. It very well could be. I mean, he seems like he's done very well for himself. Mm-hmm. So good for you, Scale Coop.
Well, it seems like he's done real well for himself, and then maybe he saves money by who he does his business with, because like Tim Roth's character and like everybody that he's teaming up with look like greasy and just not very well off for themselves.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, for someone that has a lot of money, Scale Coop can't really like afford deodorant and like a shower.
Yeah, dude. Well, he's been cutting corners that way. That's how he saves all this money. He hasn't paid for a haircut right. in a year or so.
Maybe it's like one of those things where like people say this about celebrities all the time, but like Shia LaBeouf, Michael Moore, like they're rich, they're millionaires, but they still dress like super, not super, not suit and tie, very dirty, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
And it's kind of maybe to like blend in with everyone else, make them seem more relatable. So maybe that's what it is. Scale Coop's working with the bottom of the barrel, so he might as well look like it,
Sure.
I don't know. I don't know where the whole Diane thing is gonna go now. I'm pretty shook, as the kids say. So after all that, we're back in Twin Peaks, and we see Ben Horne talking on the phone with Sylvia, who was Richard's grandmother. She was talking about Richard attacking her, and I agreed with you about them seeming divorced, because she's like, there's obviously a lot of hostility between them, and she is like, I'm gonna call the lawyer, right? Like, because she's basically saying you owe me money because of which now that that's said, do you think so? Richard is Audrey's son, right?
He has to be.
Yeah, that's the only thing that makes sense.
So how we're gonna see Audrey play into it, though? That's
yeah.
Who do you think the dad is?
Scale Coop.
You think Scale Coop is the father?
A little bit, because all the scenes that we've seen with Richard, I mean, going back to the original series, obviously Audrey had very strong feelings for Coop, and I mean, at some points, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, they initially were going to set those characters up together, but I'm not sure who felt uncomfortable with it. I think maybe because Kyle was dating the actress that plays Donna in real life, and she was like uncomfortable with all like the the airtime, so they were going to set them up, I think, if that's correct, if that rumor is true. But yeah, I mean, as the series was written out, like Coop, he was too focused on his work, and like obviously what happened in the past with the woman, Wyndham Earl's wife. What was her name?
I don't remember her name.
Yeah, the one that he fell in love with and inadvertently was killed
Yeah.
By Wyndham Earl. So yeah, there's definitely a connection there, and I think that if Scale Coop got reconnected with her, she more than most would be more, she would fall for his tomfoolery, his tricks.
I think you're onto something. I can't think of a better theory of a character we would know that would be the father.
Yeah, unless
except Dick Tremaine, dude.
Good.
Dick Tremaine has always got to be the other guy.
Oh man. Whoa. Yeah, because we were talking about this before we started recording these. If Wally was Dick's son or not?
Yeah. If he could be. Yeah, we don't know.
In theory, but I don't know. I feel like it's Andy's.
Yeah, it seems pretty clear that.
Yeah. Like I feel like
that had to have sprung from Andy's.
Yeah. If they would have made this very suave, like Wally thinks he's suave.
Yeah.
But if Wally would have been this really smooth guy, then I would have maybe bought it, but now not so much. But I don't know, all that we've seen of Richard, he's a very brutal, evil character. I mean, that first scene where you at the bar where you think he's going to be this cool James Dean kind of guy, and then he just starts choking the girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little fucking smoking girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking dickhead. So I think it's possible because Audrey wasn't a inherently evil character by any means, but I think she could have maybe fallen for Evil Coop's tricks.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That'll be interesting to see. And then man, after that we just have one final scene before another musical closer. But we see the log lady talking to Hawk, and I love how they incorporated her because obviously she was sick in real life and passed away 2015. But yeah, the way that they, I don't know, used her as this messenger is amazing because I mean, she was so important in the original series. So I love that they've. I don't know if we'll see any more of her. Maybe because I thought honestly after the last
first
time
episode,
the last time we
that
saw
was all
her,
we were gonna see.
Yeah, so
I thought so too.
Yeah, no, that was really cool. But yeah, do you remember? This is what I was saying to you. If you wanted to take this, take some notes on the quote. I missed some of what she was saying, but I think the gist of it was the electricity is dying.
I was originally planning to write down everything she said, but then she said a lot, and I wasn't expecting that. What I have written down was Hawk. Electricity is humming, and then she continues to say more about that, and then she says the glow is dying.
The glow is dying. Yeah, that's right.
And then later, a little bit more into that dialogue, she says the Truman brothers are true men, which I could see the memes already from that line. I loved that. But, of course, she ends it with, Laura is the one.
The one. So, man. Yeah, there was a lot to digest from her, from everything that she was telling Hawk. Backtracking a little bit. We know that the electricity is a forewarning or a sign of evil.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever we hear it. We'd always hear it when Bob was about to appear and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And the glow is dying. What did you take from that?
Maybe the Laura, the orb, the Laura orb, perhaps.
Yeah,
something to do with that.
I mean, I could see that because then that would play into my theory that Laura could potentially be in Becky.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we saw Steven fucking beating the shit out of her.
Yeah.
So I don't know, and man. But I mean, it just goes back to episode 8 where we see the Laura orb, the Lorb, and we now know how important Laura truly is to the universe and everything that happens in it.
Yeah. Well, and do you think that Laura is the one, do you think that pertains to Cooper? Like maybe Laura is the one to wake him up?
I think so. Man.
Wake him up. Wake him up inside.
Beautiful.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, that very well could be. Because, yeah, like, what do you think, if you could speculate as to what Laura told Coop at the beginning of the series, this new season, I mean, what, do you think it was the coordinates? What?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah. I mean, that's the ultimate question. That's a really tough one. I don't know.
Yeah. Sometimes my arms bend back.
Man. I just want to see the arm again.
Yeah. Squeeze his hand off. Well, once again, we end at the Roadhouse, though, and what I thought was funny about this particular performance was the whole time I was going, guy looks like Moby, but I say that about like every bald guy, and it was Moby.
Oh man. The ultimate deceit. Yeah, because I've seen a David Lynch and like Moby interview before, so I guess that connection's there. They're friends. How significant is Moby in the Twin Peaks universe? The biggest question.
I believe we actually misheard the log lady. Moby is the one.
I love that he doesn't have a different name. He's always Moby.
Moby's always been cool.
Fun fact that singer, I mean, this was on the Showtime Twin Peaks Twitter, so it's not like I'm digging too deep for this, but yeah, she was the singer from Mulholland Drive, so that's pretty cool.
Yep.
Because Mulholland Drive was initially a story about Audrey moving to like Los Angeles, and then it kind of just developed into its own story. So it's very related to Twin Peaks. But I mean, I think all of like, there's a lot of like Eraserhead in the quote unquote White Lodge as far as visually, and like some of the surreal creatures, like how the arm looks now. Like, I don't know, a lot of the series, a lot of this reboot has just been like, it's just a culmination of all of David Lynch's work, and it's amazing. It's amazing to see. Man, oh man, but yeah, that's where the episode ends off, and of course we got no new info on next week's episode. But I love that they do that. I love that there's this mystery to it. Man, any final thoughts? Any conspiracy theories as to what's happening next?
Under a starry night. That's all I got.
You know, that the ends always not confuse me, but they always like deceive me. I'm like, oh, there's gonna be
a little bit more.
There's gonna be a little bit more.
It's happened like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
Where like you think it's gonna end and it doesn't.
But
and then you'll go through like the whole performance, and then it'll start playing the credits, and you're like, shit.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the 9 Inch Nails performance that like.
Really threw it all off.
Yeah, because that one we sit through the whole performance, then obviously episode 8, the beautiful sequences ensue. So I'm like, oh man, there's got to be a little bit more, but I was wrong. No follow-up on the armpit lady. We got the arm and then the armpit lady.
It's 2 different characters. Don't get them confused.
Yeah, I don't know, because that's something that I failed to mention last episode was. Because I was talking about the drug use in Twin Peaks, but I failed to mention that that's kind of what Truman and like Hawk and Bobby are kind of like working on, besides what's going on, like the Briggs developments. Like there's a drug problem in Twin Peaks again. Like I think it's back to where it was initially. I don't know if it's in the last 25 years if it's remained constant, but there is an active, like they've acknowledged it, that there's a drug problem in Twin Peaks. So I'm sure that lady was just a drug addict. I mean, we see the other lady that lived by Dougie, that was, you know, or not lived by Dougie, but like the rental house that him and Jade went to, you know, the one that was putting off or just randomly saying numbers. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where it's all going, man.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Join us again next week as we go over part 11 of The Return. Hoping to see Big Ed. Where you at, Big Ed? I miss you. For all our Big Ed heads, thanks for listening this far. Let us know anything that you caught in the comments or anything that we missed. Once again, thank you so much for listening, and we hope to see you again next week.